welcome to AGK's Vinyl Life. I'm your host, Anthony K, and today's Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021. And on this week's episode, I'm going to be exploring a genre of music that I've never really discussed before on my channel. A genre that I got heavily into around 1998 and followed almost exclusively until around 2006, 2007, 2008, when I kind of pulled away a little bit and started rediscovering music that I had listened to before. And that'll all make sense in a minute when I give a little bit of backstory to this. And that genre of music that I'm talking about is trance. That's right, trance, which from what I understand is a subcategory of techno. Techno, of course, had been around for a long time. I'm not going to get into the roots of techno. I'm not an expert on techno. I'm not an expert on trance. I just know what I know from my experience with listening to trance. I got into trance, like I said, around 1998, purely by accident, actually. And to give a proper backstory, and I'll make this really quick because I want to get into showing all the stuff here. The backstory to all this and the reason why I got into trance and how I got into trance is because in the early 1990s, of course, records were phasing out, and as I've said many times before, I had started trading in my record collection. Records weren't getting sold in the record stores here anymore. It was all CDs. They were phasing records out. You couldn't find records. You couldn't buy a turntable anymore in the stereo shops. Amplifiers didn't have a phono jack on them or a phono selector or anything. They were pushing us into the digital world intentionally. The manufacturers were pushing us out of records, pushing us into digital. And of course, a lot of bands that I'd grown up with in the 60s and 70s and 80s were breaking up, retiring, whatever, or just didn't translate into that digital age. So like many people my age, I sold off 3/4 of my vinyl collection, traded what I liked from my vinyl and bought it again on CD just to update the format. But by mid-90s, I was getting bored of music. The stuff that was coming up in the 90s, like I said, a lot of the bands I used to listen to and artists I used to listen to, they were retiring or had broken up or whatnot. And with my record collection getting smaller, I was listening to less and less vinyl, and I just got bored of music. This music nothing was appealing to me in the 1990s at all. Very, very little. I mean, there was a few artists, and some of my favorite artists that were still going I was listening to. But the big thing here in Toronto, on the radios and the clubs and whatnot, it was all this hip-hop and hardcore rap, which I just did not get into. And rock had spun off into like alternative and stuff, and I liked a little bit of alternative, but that I didn't like grunge at all. And I was bored with music. By 1998, I was really done with music, and music was a passion in my life for over 20 years, a big passion in my life. I couldn't go a day without music. But by 1998, I had stopped listening to music. I was tired of spinning the few records I had left. I was sick and tired of spinning them because, I wasn't buying anything new. There wasn't any new records coming out. And like I said, the CDs that were dropping and the group artists that were dropping in the 90s weren't appealing to me. And I was done. I was done with music. And I was dead. I was dead inside as far as music came for me. And that's when I discovered trance. Trance saved my life. Lord, it saved my life. Never mind. But yeah, trance did kind of save my musical life because I discovered this whole wonderful world of trance music quite by accident. Discovered this program called Napster. And Napster was a file sharing program. It was a music sharing program, not so much files, but a music sharing program that was the latest craze that friends of mine were into, people I knew that I worked with, associates. They were like, Anthony, have you got Napster? Oh, it's really cool. There's all this really cool music on Napster that I never heard before. And so I checked out Napster. It was free. The music was like free music. Music that we used to have to go to record stores and pay for was now free to download. It was illegal. We didn't know it right at the beginning. It quickly became illegal, and Napster was shut down fairly quickly. But there was always there was LimeWire. There was a number of music sharing programs that came up and they would get shut down. Metallica was the big guys that went after shutting down Napster. You would rip your CDs or records into MP3 files, store them on your computer in folders, and attach your Napster program to them, and people could read your folders, they could see your music, and they could leech, what's called leech, your music files from you, and in turn you would leech from other people. And everybody was leeching music files from each other. And of course, this is in the days of 28.8 and 56K modems when it was going really slow. What takes you like, a couple seconds to download on iTunes nowadays a song, it took like 8 hours to download a song back in those days. So you would have a list of songs on your Napster program, 20, 30 songs that you'd be simultaneously downloading. And these downloads would be coming from multiple people, bit by bit. And you would just leave the computer going all day and all night. And, you'd wake up in the morning, you'd have a bunch of new songs to listen to. And so what everybody was listening to, the number one thing that I discovered on this Napster was all these DJ Tiesto, DJ Sakin, Guriella, Mauro Picotto, Armin Van Buren, Armin Van Helden, all these Dutch, Netherlands, Finnish, Swedish, German, UK DJs. And I'm like, what are these DJs? And I didn't know much about techno. And like I said, I'm not an expert on techno at all. I'm not an expert on trance. But we didn't have it here. It wasn't playing on the radio here. You didn't see it in the records, the CD stores here. It just wasn't popular here. But it was mega popular on the other side of the pond there in Europe and UK and whatnot. And everybody was downloading. There was more of these DJs and more of this techno and trance once you started searching, downloading, I think, than any other genre of music that I discovered. And so I started downloading it and playing it. And I was like, wow, this stuff is mind-blowing. And of course, me being a big fan of synth pop, groups like Pet Shop Boys, which, of course, obviously early techno and trance and dance pop, synth pop. Me liking that genre, I immediately loved trance. And trance is basically, like I said, it's a subgenre, I believe, of techno. And it's mostly instrumental, though in recent years there's a lot more vocal in it. But back in the heyday there, when I was downloading it, most trance was long. The pieces were anywhere from 5 to 8 minutes long. They were mostly instrumental with just a little tiny bit of really beautiful female vocals doing like a chorus or something in them, or a spoken passage or something. But it was mostly instrumental. Certainly got influences from prog and Genesis and Yes and all these keyboard-driven bands. But of course, it had a dance beat. It had a BPM, beats per minute. And I just loved this trance. And then as I discovered it, there was progressive trance. There was dream trance. And those were the two trance categories of trance that I absolutely loved, was progressive trance and dream trance. So I started downloading this stuff like crazy. And I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I used to download and some of the stuff that I bought. Because after I started downloading it, I went online and started buying CDs by these artists. And most of them, I couldn't buy them here in Canada. I had to buy them on Amazon, Target, some overseas CD sellers online. And I started buying, not only was I downloading trance on my computer, but I was buying it on CD. And these are some of my early CDs. And most of trance and techno is on CD. There's not a lot on vinyl. I'm going to show you the few bits and pieces I do have on vinyl, but there's not very much on vinyl these days, at least not here that I found here. But I'm going to show you a bunch of my trance CDs really quickly because I have over 170 CDs of trance alone. Trance and techno, but mostly trance. Dream trance, progressive trance, vocal trance, instrumental trance. These are the artists that got me going on trance. Artists like this man here, ATB, one of my earliest influences. A song called 9 p.m. Till I Come. ATB, one of the earliest trance artists I got into. And all of these CDs I'm showing you date from around 1998 to around this one's 1999. From around 1998 to around 2008, all these CDs I'm showing you. So ATB, Moving Melodies was one. Deejay, another very popular trance release. This was vocal trance, and it had massive hits on it. Better Off Alone and Back in My Life. Deejay, she was a female DJ, great artist. And I absolutely love this album. Deejay. And this was Who Needs Guitars Anyway? That said it all right there. That kind of told you what trance was. That was Deejay. A local, this one's a local trance artist, Deejay Sammy and Heaven. And this was actually a Toronto, I believe a Toronto trance artist that popped up. And this is more in the 2000s, I believe. Yeah, 2002. And he had done trance versions of favorite songs like Heaven by, you know, Bryan Adams. Deejay Sammy. Now, one of the big heavy hitters in the world of trance for sure was Paul Oakenfold. And this is Greatest Hits and Remixes, a fantastic collection by Paul Oakenfold. Highly recommend this one. Paul Oakenfold. Greatest Hits and Remixes. And this is pretty much progressive and dream trance. Next up, Roller Girl. And this was, once again, this was another vocal trance artist. Her name was Roller Girl. And she used to sing on roller skates. That was her whole spiel. She would roll all her music videos. She'd be rolling around on roller skates and singing to this trance music. Roller Girl. Another great trance artist was Sash, which I have a number of albums by Sash. This was his debut album, and one of the very first trance songs that got me into trance that I discovered and downloaded and bought this CD was Ecuador. Was absolutely incredible. And this, when I heard Ecuador the first time, I was blown away. Dream trance, fantastic. Sash. Another big progressive trance and dream trance artist, Paul Van Dyk. This album is spectacular. This was a double CD called 7 Ways. Incredible spin, dream trance. And if you've never heard trance, folks, I highly recommend this stuff. This is some of the cream of the crop of trance. And when I discovered it with trance, for a good 8 to 10 years, I listened to nothing but these trance artists and built up a massive collection of trance. And a lot of these CDs are double CDs. The ones I'm going to show you next, in the next stack, not quite yet, but in a minute, are all double CDs. So a lot of music. Another great trance artist, blank&jones, and these guys were from the UK. They made a number of albums. This is just one of them, called Night Clubbing. And as you can see, the double CD. Blank&Jones from the UK, Night Clubbing. Love these guys. Love these guys. I've got quite a few of these guys' albums. Now this was hardcore progressive trance. And this is Astral Projection and their album, Another World. Astral Projection, Another World. Real hardcore progressive trance. Darude, and he had a massive single on here called Sandstorm, which actually broke Canadian charts. It was one of the first trance songs to like really break Canadian radio here in Toronto. Darude Sandstorm, this was the full album, fantastic spin. Darude Sandstorm. Fragma, Toka, another great combination in dream trance and vocal trance, Toka. And the big song on here was Toka's Miracle, and also Every Time You Need Me was a very popular song. Fragma, Toka. And last but not least, Vincent D'Amour and More. This was a double CD. Vincent D'Amour and More, if I can get this to swing open, however, there we go. Vincent D'Amour and More. And what the deal was this was disc 1 was More. So he remixed, it was all his own songs, his own music. On disc 1 was More, and on disc 2 was a greatest hits collection where they were all songs by other DJs that he had remixed. Because one thing that was happening in trance was that all these DJs, not only were they producing their own albums and their own musics under their name, but they were also remixing everybody else's stuff. So a lot of these comps that you're going to see next were songs that were remixed by, everybody was remixing each other's stuff. Everybody was just remixing each other's stuff. Vincent D'Amour. And here's another Blank&Jones. And this particular Blank&Jones was a greatest hits package. But what's cool about this one is it actually had the CD and the DVD. So this one had a CD and a music CD and a DVD, and the DVD played all the various music videos, which were really cool to watch. Trance music videos were really trippy, really trippy. So Vincent, that's another Blank and Jones. And another one of my favorite artists. Now, these guys are what you call hardcore trance. These guys are hardcore trance and techno. So they have trance elements in them. They have techno, a lot of techno, hardcore techno in them, and trance element. And they were from the UK, and they're called Scooter, and they made a crap load of albums to this day, a pile of albums. This is Scooter, and this particular one I'm showing you here is a collection. It's not only a CD, but it's got CD1 is a brand new material. CD2 is a greatest hits album of their stuff, and then you have DVD1, which is them live in concert, and DVD2, which is all their music videos. So a whole wealth of stuff on here. But this is Scooter, hardcore techno and trance, fantastic stuff. So high energy, these guys, so high energy. Scooter. And then, of course, one of my favorite DJs and favorite trance albums of all time, I'd probably put it as my #1 favorite trance album ever released. And I wish this would come out on vinyl, but it probably never will, is this fellow here, Deejay, Sakin and Friends, Walk with Fire, or Walk by Fire, Walk on Fire. Deejay, Sakin and Friends, Walk on Fire. I absolutely adore this album. Never got tired of it. This is Dream Trance at its finest, with the fantastic Protect Your Mind, Dragonfly, and No Man's Land were the big singles off this. Deejay, Sakin and Friends, Walk on Fire. If I ever saw this on vinyl, I'd snatch it up in a heartbeat. But I've never seen it on vinyl. And as with most trance and techno, it pretty much is only on CD. I'm sure there's probably a lot in Europe that's on vinyl, but here in Canada, you won't find it in record stores here. It's almost impossible to find any trance or techno in record stores here on vinyl. And you may find it on Discogs, but you're paying an arm and a leg for them. The stuff is not cheap. It goes at a pretty penny, and then you've got import fees and shipping costs and all that. It's just not worth getting it. So I just have to, enjoy these CDs that I have. Next up, there were a lot of mixes. The majority of trance stuff that was coming out were compilation albums, continuous mixes. That was the big thing, continuous mixes, where it would just go from one song to the other. And like I said, a lot of these artists, like I said, would remix each other's songs and do all sorts of alternate mixes. And then they would end up on these various comps and would get played in the clubs and whatnot. And just to give you an example, this is Ministry of Sound, a very big EDM or electronic dance music or trance, techno record company out of the UK that produces a lot of trance. Ministry of Sound, this is chill out trance. So this is chilled trance, very ambient, very slow, very relaxing, chilled trance, very, very dreamy. It doesn't have a big dance beat to it. It's just for chilling out too. And this is the Chill Out Session 2002 Ibiza, and I have a number of volumes of this chill out from over the years. Another one was the Euphoria series. This particular one digitally mixed by Matt Derry, one of the artists that would appear on it, had his own stuff. But he, for example, would mix this 2 CD set called Euphoria of trance, and the Euphoria series had many volumes, each volume mixed by another famous DJ. Euphoria, 2 CD cassette. Something a little more modern here is one of the biggest trance artists of all time besides Tiesto. A lot of you might have heard of Tiesto before, is Armin Van Buren. He's very big. He's a legend now. He's been doing trance for over 20 years, and he still produces it. Each year he produces a couple albums every year that he calls A State of Trance, and he does 2 volumes, A State of Trance and A State of Trance Ibiza. He's been doing them for a number of years. He releases 2 every year, and it's Armin Van Buren, A State of Trance 2019, just to show you that double CD set, just to show you that trance is still prevalent even to this day. A State of Trance 2019, and another sample from him is A State of Trance Ibiza 2018. And I have a number of volumes of this series as well. I try to pick up his yearly mixes every year. Also, another series of trance and house and trance and techno is the Ultra, done by Ultra Records. They release volumes every year, mixed trance comps. And this is just a sample of one, and I have many volumes of this. This is Ultra Trance 7, just to show you a sample. Ultra Trance 7, 2 discs worth of fantastic Trance music. If I can get this open. I guess it doesn't want to open. Oh, there we go. Ultra Trance. 2 discs of wonderful trance. And Ultra Weekend was another series also by them, which featured a lot more house. Trance was strictly dream trance, vocal trance, progressive trance, and Ultra Weekend featured a little bit of house and techno in it. And they would release also two disc sets, 2 CD sets. Ultra Weekend. This is Ultra Weekend 5 from 2009. Actually, this was 2009. One of my later pickups. So a few more comps. This is Transformer, and mixed by, like I said, Mauro Picotto and Lang. Mauro Picotto had many albums in his own right, but he, for example, mixed this double CD set, Transformer 2000. So this came out in the year 2000. Lots of fantastic songs by various artists, and mixed by Mauro Picotto. And like I said, all these things would be continuous mixes. No breaks between songs. Continuous mixes. You can open your own nightclub. Also, here's A Trip in Trance. And this is mixed by Airwave. Airwave, another trance artist. Trip in Trance number 6. A Trip in Trance 6. And I have a few volumes of this album as well. A Trip in Trance 6. One of my favorite comps of all time was this one here that I actually found in a record store here. One of the few trance mixes I found in a record store here. Some of those the later ones that I've shown you here, I did buy at HMV. Some of these later collections I did pick up at HMV, but in the beginning I had to buy them online. But this one I did pick up here, but even though it's, you know, from Europe, this was released through XYZ Music Germany, made in Germany. And this is Lost in Trance, a 2 CD live turntable mix by DJ Tom Stevens. So this was live mix from turntables, Lost in Trance, and this is absolutely spectacular. I love this album. 2 CD set, fantastic, Lost in Trance. And last but not least in my CDs here is Gary D, another trance remixer who would mix his own stuff. He would take all this stuff. So everything on these ones would be mixed by Gary D, and it's called D-Trance. This was volume 12, and I have a lot of volumes of this. There's many more after this and before. This was just volume 12 of D-Trance by Gary D. 2 CD sets, like I said, once again, 2 CD sets. They came with a booklet. Oh, actually 3 CD. I forgot, the Gary D's, the D-Trances were 3 CD mixes. So on the first 2 CDs, you've got long form, single long form pieces, not mixed together, just standalone single long form pieces on the first 2 CDs, and then on the last CD would be a continuous mix, a continuous 80-minute mix, which would feature songs from the first 2 CDs. Gary D made a lot of stuff, and that is a big pile of the trance, and that's just a drop in the bucket of the trance I have. So me getting very heavily into trance, the next thing I'm going to show you here, me getting very heavily into trance and downloading on a Napster, I started doing what a lot of people would do. When you downloaded into Napster, it gave the ability to burn your own CD right from your files. So you could pick files out of your Napster program, select them, put them into a burn list, and it would burn a music CD, so you can make your own music CDs. So I started making music CDs of the favorite stuff I was downloading. I started sharing them with friends and people that I worked with and whatnot, you know, and get a little kind of a little bootleg business going on trance CDs. And my mixing name was Yanaman, and that's a long story. I'm not going to get into how I became known as Yanaman. On, of course, Napster, you had to have a name, just like you have on YouTube. You had to have a name. So my name on Napster was Yanaman, and I'm not going to go into the story of how that name came to be. So when I made my mixes, I called my first mix series, the first mix I ever made was called Journey into Trance. And that's the Napster logo right there. Journey into Trance, Volume 1, mixed by Yanaman. That's right, that's me. I used all the Napster logos and everything. And I put, you know, I think even put, yeah, I didn't put labels on the record, at least not on the first one, on the CD. But yeah, everything was mixed by me, and it even tells you, mix, the Napster Music Community Project, and it shows, the software I used to convert the files, to compile them, to remix them. And I started making my own trance mixes, and my friends and people I knew I worked with loved them, and they wanted them. So I would charge a pittance of a fee just to cover my cost of my blank CDs and the jewel cases and the ink to print the covers. And basically I would sell them real cheap just to cover my costs. And they got really popular. That was Journey into Trance Volume 1. I did 10 volumes of Journey into Trance mixed by Yanaman. I did 10 volumes. Basically they all had the same cover, except I changed the color of the border all around. And I think eventually, then I had a label on the discs as well. Journey into Trance volumes, 10 volumes of that. They were all very popular. And then I really got artsy. Because people were loving my mixes. And I started and those were just separate pieces. They weren't mixed into a continuous mix or anything like that. They were just separate mixes, separate songs. They were mixtapes, what people call mixtapes now. They didn't call them mixtapes back then, but those were my mixed CDs. After Journey into Trance came this one here. I decided to get a little more fancy with cover art, and I did a couple volumes of this, a Trance and Techno Odyssey, where I mixed a little bit of trance and techno together. And this, I started doing continuous mixes now. On this particular one, it was a continuous mix. A little fancier. I got fancy with creating cover art for them. And this was a continuous mix. No break between songs. They would flow into each other. I did that one. I did a couple volumes of that one. And then I guess you could say my crowning achievements were these four here that really did well. Everybody loved these ones. I got so many compliments on these ones, and actually sold quite a few of these to friends. And then friends of friends were like, Anthony, I have a friend that really wants one too. He heard your mix. He really wants to give me a copy. And so I actually sold quite a few of these mixes here. But like I said, I wasn't in it to make money. It basically covered the cost of the ink for printing the covers and the labels, and the cost for making the CDs. And this one was called Trance Heaven. And as you can see, I got much more fancy on the labels and the discs. 2 disc sets. Trance Heaven. And these were continuous mixes. And of course I had full credits on here. I put on here all tracks downloaded as MP3 files using WinMX. WAV file conversion done using Winamp, all tracks remastered, and final CD mastering done using Adaptec Sound Editor, Easy CD Creator, cover artwork designed by Yanaman, produced, compiled, and mixed by Yanaman. This one was January, February 2002. Each CD 80 minutes. So Trance Heaven, this one was very, very popular. That was followed by Trance Summer 2001, mixed by Yanaman. Again, a 2 CD continuous mix once again. And then Transfactor, my last 2 that I made were Transfactor 2001. This one was super popular, and what's special about this one, Transfactor 2001, it was the first time I remixed a song. So I actually had gotten into doing mixing, and I remixed a song myself that is on this album. And it was very popular. Everybody complimented me on my mixing skills because I'd got a mixing program so I could start doing mixing like these DJs were doing. And I had mixed a song on this one, and it was, I believe, the last song on the album. And that I remixed on this album, and you'll see that it's mixed by Yanaman. So Transfactor 2001, and then the very last one I did was Transfactor, a continuous mix by Transfactor 2, a continuous mix by Yanaman. Transfactor 2. And if anybody ever wants any of these mixes, I probably have the master files. I can always just duplicate the CDs. I could always rip and duplicate the CDs. If anybody out there in the vinyl community would like to hear some of these mixes, I'll burn you some CDs and mail them to you. Just let me know. I can rip them and burn them and sell them to you. I'm not going to charge you anything for them. I'll VCLT them to you if anybody wants. I don't know if I'll print the cover art. If you really want the cover art, I can do it, because I do have all the files for the cover art. But if anybody ever wants to try these, let me know. Maybe I'll send you some of my remixes. And the very last thing I did in that with those were I did 4 volumes of Trance Visions. That's right, Trance Visions. And these were all trance music videos that you could also download these on Napster. Trance music videos, and you could continuously mix them. So not only did you get great trance music, but you got the visuals to go with them. And I did these all on what was in the time video CDs, not DVDs. This was in between Laserdisc and DVD. These were video CDs, and I did 4 volumes of Trance Visions. That's one of them. Here's another one. I'll just show you one other one. Trance Visions Volume 2. And each of these would have about 20 or so videos. They would run about, I can't remember, what was the running time on these things anyhow? 73 minutes, yeah. They would run about the same time as a CD. 74 minutes worth of music. Trance Visions, I did 4 volumes of those. Of course, all this stuff now is just called EDM. Nowadays, you hear the expression EDM, electronic dance music. That's where you will find trance nowadays, and techno. It's all been rolled into the EDM category now. And in recent years, like I said, because I loved all this trance so much and it was such a major part of my life for a good part of 10 years, since the revival resurgence, I've wanted to get some trance on vinyl and hear what it sounds like on vinyl. Pulled a few. I don't have many more after this. But the first one I'm going to show you is Robert Miles and his Dreamland. And the reason I'm showing you this one, this is Robert Miles' Dreamland. This is straight up dream trance. Robert Miles' Dreamland. And this was the first trance CD I owned by an individual artist. The original version of Dreamland was the first trance CD I owned by anybody. The first full-length trance CD by an artist was Dreamland. This is a remixed and remastered version of Dreamland. So what you have on here is you have a CD. You have the CD of the original Dreamland on here, but it's all been remixed. And then you have 4 records with extended mixes. Almost, they're like not really an album, but EPs. So you've got 2 songs per side. But I mean, each of these songs is 7-8 minutes long. So you got 4 LPs here of, I guess 2 LPs. Sorry, 2 LPs and a CD. Robert Miles' Dreamland. This one is one you can find. If you look for it at Amazon, why not? I highly recommend this album. It's dream trance. It's absolutely gorgeous. It had massive singles on here. The big one was Fable and Children. Those were the 2 big popular songs from here, Fable and Children. Robert Miles' Dreamland. Highly recommend it if you really want to try some really cool trance. Very ambient, just gorgeous. Here's a 12-inch single by one of my favorite bands, Pet Shop Boys, just to show you that they're into the trance too. This is from the Super album. This is Inner Sanctum, a song that was released on their Super album, which was their second last album back from 2016. Inner Sanctum, and of course this is a trance remix released by the Pet Shop Boys. Trance remix, Inner Sanctum. I showed you Paul Van Dyk earlier. Here's a 12-inch single of Paul Van Dyk. And this song is Tell Me Why, The Riddle, featuring Saint Etienne. Paul Van Dyk, 12-inch single. So there is some trance out there. Then another band, another artist that has gotten very popular in the 2010s. They're one of the more popular new progressive trance. They are progressive trance, vocal trance, pop trance artists, mainly progressive trance and vocal trance artists. They came up in 2009, started off by doing remixing like I'd shown you in some of these things here. They were remixing other people's songs before they released their own music. The first thing they produced was this here, which is absolutely spectacular, called Above and Beyond presents Ocean Lab, Sirens of the Sea. This is absolute, and this is from 2009, and this vinyl pressing is actually worth one of my most valuable in my collection. It's really hard to find now. If you can find it, get it. I highly recommend it. 2 LP set. Ocean Lab, Sirens of the Sea, absolutely gorgeous dream trance. I mean, the cover art alone kind of tells you what kind of world you're going to step into when you listen to this stuff. Above and Beyond presents Ocean Lab, Sirens of the Sea, absolutely spectacular. And then, of course, they've released a lot of albums of their own music. I showed this one briefly in another video not too long ago. This is We Are All We Need by Above and Beyond from 2016, 2015. And then their latest one, Progressive Trance, Vocal Trance. This one's from 2019, is it? 2018. This is Above and Beyond, Common Ground. Common Ground by Above and Beyond. Not much to see there. But a 2 LP set of vocal and progressive trance. And last up on here is some comps. Now the first one I'm showing you is not really a trance album. It was one of the first things I found when I started looking for trance on vinyl. And this is a comp album. It's a 90s mix. This is called 90s Dance Anthems. So it has a lot of house on it, a lot of techno. I mean, you got Fatboy Slim, Basement Jaxx, Ultranate, David Morales presents The Face, Love Station, Blue Boy. And so a lot of house and techno on this. But when you got towards the end of this album, they did bring in a little bit of trance. Faithless Insomnia is trance. Robert Miles, Children, which I showed you. Robert Miles' Children's on here. Gaia, which was Dream Trance. So the last little bit, William Orbit, Barber's Adagio for strings, more Dream Trance. So there was a little bit of trance on this collection, but this is more an exploration into trance, techno, and house. I highly recommend it for somebody that wants to sample all those genres. You can easily find this one on Amazon. 90s Dance Anthems. And this one, which came out a couple years ago by Armin Van Buren, who I showed you the Estate of Trance CDs. He's been mixing music for over 20 years. And this is one that's out on vinyl. This is A State of Trance again. This is A State of Trance Year Mix 2018 on his 15th anniversary. Actually, there you go, 15th anniversary of his A State of Trance series, mixed by Armin Van Buren. This is 4 continuous mixes, 4 sides of music, double LP, a legend in the world of trance. Armin Van Buren, A State of Trance, Year Mix 2018. And last but not least, I'm saving the best for last. My favorite trance in my collection right now in vinyl, and probably one of my favorite trance period, is this one released last year by Ministry of Sound. They released 4 different volumes. One was Jungle, one was called Jungle, one was called House, one was called Techno, and the last one was called Trance. And it's the Origins of Trance series. So each one was called Origins of House, Origins Techno, Origins Jungle, and Origins Trance. And I highly, 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 for all you vinyl lovers out there who want to try at least one trance album and explore trance, this is the one. This is spectacular. Ministry of Sound, beautifully mastered, beautiful sounding, 4 sides of music, and this has every song on here were back from like 1998, 99, 2000, when I was discovering trance. When I saw the track listing on here, every single song on here was a song I loved to death. They were they were at the top of my list. So this album, this will give you probably one of the best introductions to trance you'll find on vinyl, period. Highly recommend it. Came out in 2019 on Sony Music. You can pick this up on Amazon. It has Faithless, God is a DJ, spectacular way to open an album. Robert Miles, Children, like I said, that legendary Robert Miles. Sash, who I showed you. Encore une fois. A Delirium featuring Sarah McLachlan, a classic. The Silence and its DJ Tiesto's mix. Darude, Meet Her at the Love Parade. Mauro Picotto, who I mentioned. And Lizard, a classic. Energy 52, Cafe Del Mar, one of the all-time great trance anthems, period. Zombie Nation's Kerncraft 400, another classic song. CRW, I Feel Love. Ayla with Ayla, the DJ Toucher edit, another absolutely incredible song. Then on to side 3, All of You're Not Alone. Druid Sandstorm, which I showed you. Druid Sandstorm, the full 7-minute version. Verocha Carte Blanche, incredible. And that was on the Vincent, that was on this one here, and the Vincent D'Amore I showed you. Rank 1 by Airwave, and of course I showed you an Airwave mix CD. Goriella's Goriella, fantastic song. Paul Van Dyk, who I showed you. Paul Van Dyk, For an Angel, 3 drives on vinyl, Grease 2000, one of the greatest trance anthems ever recorded, and ATB 9 p.m. Till I Come on that ATB CD I showed you. So you cannot go wrong. Highly, highly recommend this one right here. Origins Trance by Ministry of Sound. This will, if this doesn't grab you and hook you and make you want to buy more trance, I don't know what will. So there you go. That's my journey into trance. I know this is going to be a really long video, but this is a video I've been wanting to make for 6 months, was to really explore a topic I've never discussed before. It was trance music, trance, which entered my life in 1998 and still is in my life today. Not as prevalent as it was before, but trance saved my life. That's right. It saved my musical life. It kept me alive when I'd given up on music, and I discovered this whole world of wonderful new music. And I hope maybe some of these things will inspire you to try a little bit of trance out too. And as I always say, I hope you like this video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. So give it a thumbs up if you like it. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And turn that notification bell on so you don't miss any of my videos. I try to post a video like this every Monday or Tuesday. Sometimes on another day, but mostly on Mondays and Tuesdays. Comments welcome down below. As always, I always reply to every comment. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram. My Instagram, of course, is at AGK_Lifetime of Vinyl, where I try to post my spin of the day every day. That's it. That's all. And as I always say, everybody, thanks for watching. See you all in a week. And you know what I say. Rock and roll!